So, fabulous scholars, last time Odd got the frost giant to leave Asgard because he gave him a thing of beauty. What did he give the frost giant? Do you remember? Yeah, a carving of his mom when she first came from Scotland. Interesting. Now we are on chapter 7, 4 transformations and a meal. Transformations means changes. We'll see what happens. The eagle found him as he sat on the wall in an area that he had kept as free of snow as he could. The great bird landed beside the boy. "Good," it said. It was twilight and the snow was falling more gently now. "I'm cold," said Odd. "I nearly got blown off there a couple of times. I was getting worried that I'd have to spend the rest of my life up on this wall. But yes, I'm good." The eagle simply looked at him. "The frost giant's gone," said Odd. "I made him go away." "How?" asked the eagle. "Magic," said Odd, and he smiled and thought, if magic means letting things do what they wanted to do or be what they wanted to be. "Down," said the eagle. Odd eyed the snowy rocks that made the wall. "I can't climb down that. I'll die." The eagle launched itself from the edge of the wall, circled downward. It soon returned, flapping heavily, carrying a worn-looking soft leather shoe, which it dropped on the wall beside Odd. Off it went again into the snowy dusk and came back with a shoe that was a twin to the first. "They're too big for me," said Odd. "Loki's," said the eagle. "Oh," said Odd, remembering the shoes from Loki's story, the ones that had walked in the sky. He put them on. Then, warily, heart-pounding, Odd limped to the edge of the wall, and when he got to the edge, he stopped. He tried to jump, but nothing happened. He didn't move a muscle. "Oh, come on," he told his feet, the good one and the one that was broken and twisted, the one that hurt all the time. "You've got magical flying shoes on. Just walk out into the air and you'll be fine." But his feet and his legs ignored him, and he stood where he was. Have you ever had that happen, scholars, where you've just been so frightened that even if you want to move, you can't? I hope it doesn't happen too often. He turned to the eagle, who was wheeling above Odd's head impatiently. "I can't do it," he said. "I've tried and I can't." The eagle gave a screech, flapped its wings hard, and rose into the snowy air. Another screech. Odd looked around. The eagle was heading straight for him, wings outstretched, hooked beak open wide, talons out, single eye aflame. Odd took an involuntary step backwards, and the eagle's claws missed him by less than the width of a feather. "What was that for?" he shouted after the bird. Then he looked down and saw the ground wasn't underneath his feet. He was a very long way up, standing unsupported on the air. "Oh," said Odd. Then he smiled, and he slid down the sky like a boy going down a hill, shouting as he did so something that sounded remarkably like "Whee!" And he landed as lightly as a snowflake. Odd pushed himself back into the air and began to jump 10, 20, 30 feet at a time. He moved toward the cluster of wooden buildings that were Asgard and did not stop until he heard the sound of cats mewing and growling. So here's Odd having fun on the air. Would you like to own Loki's shoes? I think I would. The goddess Freya was nowhere as near as scary as Odd had imagined from the frost giant's description. True, she was beautiful, and her hair was golden, and her eyes were the blue of the summer sky. But it was her smile that Odd warmed to, amused and gentle and forgiving. It was safe, that smile, and he told her everything. Well, almost. When she understood who the three animals were, her smile became wider. Well, 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 she said. And then she said, boys. They were in the great mead hall now. It was empty, and no fire burned in the hearth. The goddess reached out her right arm. The eagle, which had been sitting on the ornately carved back of the highest chair, flapped over and landed awkwardly on her wrist. Its talons gripped her pale flesh so hard that crimson beads of blood welled up, yet she did not appear to notice this or be in any visible discomfort. She scratched the back of the bird's neck with her fingernail, and it preened against her, means kind of fluffing its feathers. Odin, All-Father, she said, wisest of the Aesir, one-eyed battle god, you who drank the water of wisdom from Mimir's well, return to us. And then, with her left hand, she began to reshape the bird, to push at it, to change it. A tall, gray-bearded man with a cruel, wise face stood before them. He walked over to the tall chair, picked up a large gray cloak and an ancient floppy-brimmed hat, which Odd could have sworn were not there the last time he looked, and he put them on. I was far away, he told Freya absently, and getting farther away with every moment that passed. Good job. But Freya had already turned her attention to the bear and was kneading at it with both hands, pushing and shaping, like a mother bear licking her cubs into shape. Beneath her hands, the bear changed. He was red-bearded and covered with hair. His upper arms looked as knotted and as powerful as ancient trees. He was the biggest man, who was not a giant, that Odd had ever seen. He looked friendly, and he winked at Odd, which made the boy feel strangely proud. There's the giant man. Odin tossed Thor a tunic, and he walked into the shadows to get dressed. Then he paused and came back. I need my hammer, Thor said. I need Mjolnir. I know where it is, said Odd. It was hidden as a boulder. I can show you if you like. When we've finished the important business at hand, perhaps, said the fox. Me next. Freya looked at the animal, amused. You know, she said, many people will find you much easier to cope with in that shape. Are you sure you don't want me to leave you as a fox? The fox growled, and then the growl became a choked cough, and the fox said, Fair Freya, you joke with me, but do not the bards sing? A woman both fair and just and compassionate, only she can be compared to glorious Freya. Loki, you caused this, she said. All of it. Yes, he said, I admit it, but I found the boy as well. You can't just focus on the bad stuff. One day, said Freya softly, I will regret this. But she smiled to herself, and she reached a hand out and touched the black tip of the fox's muzzle and ran her finger between its ears and along its spine and all the way to the very tip of its tail. A shimmer, and then a man stood in front of them, beardless, flame-haired, and as pale as Freya herself, eyes like green chips of ice. Odd wondered if Loki still had the fox's eyes, or if the fox had always had Loki's eyes. Now Freya turned her attention to Odd. Her gentle smile filled his world. Your turn, she said. We'll find out what she does next time. Bye, scholars.